going on in the last days just before the coming of the Lord. And Joel tells us that in this second chapter of Joel. But he says these words. If you look at verse 30, Joel 2, verse 30, and I will show wonders in the heavens and in the earth, blood and fire and pillars of smoke. The sun shall be turned into darkness and the moon into blood before the great and terrible day of the Lord come. Now, it's amazing when I read this because you're like, okay, how does the sun turn dark? My whole life I've always wondered about that. Okay, I can get it with the moon turning blood red. We know that a lunar eclipse does that. Matter of fact, we just went through that 4 blood moon process that all landed on high Jewish feast days. They were apocalyptic signs, especially to watch with Israel. But recently, we've been having blood moons all over the world with no lunar eclipse. They're not supposed to happen. Folks have seen them in Florida, New York, Indiana. They've been seen in California. They've been seen in England. They've been seen in Australia. Unbelievable. Blood red moons. People have been taking pictures. They've been sending them around. And they're not even scheduled. They're unscheduled. Is that a sign in the heavens? Well, it could be. And we're going to continue to talk about that in a moment. But how does the sun go dark? Well, there's some scientific information we've gathered this week that helps us understand this. I need you to go with me to the book of Amos, if you will. Go to Amos chapter 5. Now, you know in the book of Revelation it talks about wormwood, or, wormwood meaning poisonous water or bitter, okay? Matter of fact, in the Ukrainian Bible, the word wormwood in Revelation is Chernobyl. That's the word. And we all know what happened at Chernobyl 30 years ago with a radioactive meltdown, really. Well, here's what it says in Amos chapter 5, verses 7 and 8 and 9. Let's read it. Ye who turn judgment to wormwood and leave off righteousness in the earth, seek him that maketh the 7 stars and Orion, and turneth the shadow of death into the morning, and maketh the day dark with night, that calleth for the waters of the sea, and poureth them out upon the face of the earth. The Lord is his name, that strengtheneth the spoiled against the strong, so that the spoiled shall come against the fortress. Who is it that can turn the sun dark? Who is it who made the 7 stars and Orion? Now we know that Orion is the name of a constellation. And so here's why I'm going back to now Planet X. In 1985, as I said, NASA said they found an elusive, huge planet deep in space, what they call Planet X. They stopped talking about 1992. But in December of last year, December of 2015, scientists, astronomers in observatories in the mountains of Chile discovered Planet X. They said, there it is. We've spotted it. They have it. And it was in the constellation of Orion. Also, when they studied it, there are other planets orbiting this thing, 7 of them. Now you're looking at, it says here, seek him that maketh the 7 stars and Orion. All right, you say, okay, Pastor, okay, don't mess with my mind here with this. Well, go with me now to Job for a minute. And there's a reason I'm going to show you something in the scripture. And this is very fascinating, and it makes one have to start to wonder if these are the apocalyptic signs of the end times. Now, if you go to Job, and remember, Job's just been robbed. I mean, they've stole everything he has. His kids were killed in a terrible storm. He's got boils from the top of his head to the soles of his feet. He's starting to question God's existence, and God doesn't like that. And if you read the entire 38th chapter of the book of Job, God explains to Job, where were you when I laid the foundations of the world? I mean, where were you at when I was walking on the depths of the ocean? Job, don't you be questioning me. You need to understand that I've got your best interests at heart, but you're going to have faith and trust me. But in the midst of that, God even speaks a great mystery. It says here in verse 31, so you go to Job 38:31. Canst thou bind the sweet influences of Pleiades, or loose the bands of Orion? What is that? Are you serious? Loose the bands of Orion. That's like saying, take something in the constellation of Orion and release it. And that's been the discussion by scientists and folks that have been studying the constellation, astronomers, all for years, is that in the constellation of Orion, there is a planet or huge star or something that is moving in a binary system. It's not going to hit us, but as it goes by, and it's bringing planets around it, stars, tons of asteroids, and as it goes by, its asteroids are going to smash into or collide into some of our asteroids in our galaxy, which could create this pinball effect, if you will, in the cosmos. And if you go to David Wilkerson in 1973, he gave a prophecy. For 52 minutes, he stood in front of 2,000 people, and he prophesied 41 things the Lord showed him were going to come to pass. And of those 41 things, 40 of them have come to pass. The only thing that hasn't was a cosmic storm that he saw in the heavens. All right? Just saying. That was 1973. Well, as this elusive Planet X, what I'm finding out from others that are studying this deeply, including those that are in the government intelligence, are saying this Planet X, if you will, is actually a huge star or sun type, almost like our sun, but way larger. And so to make our sun burn, it needs helium and hydrogen. That's what fuels the sun. It's pulling helium and hydrogen from the space around it. But this other thing is so big, it requires more what? Helium and hydrogen. And so as it goes by, at some point, it could be that it sucks the hydrogen and helium away from our sun and darkens it for 3 days. You say, Paul, that's ludicrous, that's insane, that's madness. Where are you? Have you lost your, are you serious? It happened in the days of Moses. The plagues of Egypt, one of the plagues was the sun went dark for 3 days. And there's also, it also says this will happen. We know that the sun actually went backwards 10 degrees. Hezekiah saw it on the sundial and he freaked out. I was in Jerusalem in June, and I was walking, we were cutting through I was with Stephen Ben-Danoon, his wife, and my wife Heidi. We're cutting through a garden, and we come upon a huge sundial. And I looked at my watch, and it was 2 p.m. in the afternoon. I looked at the sundial, and the shadow said it was 2:30. I said, wait a minute, what's your watch saying? He says 2 p.m. I said, so is mine. I said, but the sundial says 2:30. He said, it's impossible. All the sundials are set according to the position of the sun. No matter where they set these up and they're setting, no matter what time of year it is, it won't matter. The shadow will always hit the right time on your watch. I go, it's not. It's a half hour off, 10 degrees. That has already happened before. That happened in the days of Hezekiah as a sign from God. So here's the point. If scientists are correct that this elusive Planet X that's going by in the constellation of Orion, if it's been loosed by God, and as it goes by, could it actually darken our sun for 3 days? We shouldn't be shocked because it's happened before. Now you go with me back to Joel 2, which we just read, and Joel tells us, as we said in verse 31, and here's what it says, Joel 2, 30 and 31. And I will show wonders in the heavens and in the earth, blood and fire and pillars of smoke. The sun shall be turned into darkness and the moon into blood before the great and terrible day of the Lord come. Is it possible that we're on the brink?
Sky watchers in the United States have been waiting for this date for years. On August 21st, 2017, there's going to be a total eclipse of the sun. With the path of totality stretching from Oregon to South Carolina, people can see the eclipse from coast to coast. The timing of the eclipse will provide the opportunity for viewers to see one of the biggest astronomical events of the century, just a few weeks after enjoying one of the biggest meteor showers of the year. Every August, Earth passes through a stream of debris from Comet Swift-Tuttle, source of the annual Perseid meteor shower. This year, the shower will peak on the nights of August 11th, 12th, and 13th. Although the comet is far away, currently located beyond the orbit of Uranus, a trail of debris from the comet stretches all the way around its orbit, back to where it nears Earth's orbit. As our planet crosses the debris zone, the upper atmosphere will be pelted by specks of comet dust traveling 132,000 miles per hour. At that speed, even a flimsy speck of dust makes a vivid streak of light when it disintegrates, a meteor. Because Swift-Tuttle's meteors streak out of the constellation Perseus, they are called Perseids. Astronomer Bill Cook of NASA's Meteoroid Environment Office offers these observing tips. If it's not cloudy, get away from the bright lights, lay on your back, and look up. Remember to let your eyes get adjusted to the dark. It takes about 30 minutes. You'll see more meteors that way. You don't need to look in any particular direction. Meteors can generally be seen all over the sky. Not all the meteors you'll see belong to the Perseid meteor shower. Some are sporadic background meteors. Others are weaker showers also active in August, including the Alpha Capricornids, the Southern Delta Aquarids, and the Kappa Cygnids. But the vast majority will be Perseids. Cook says if you see a meteor, try to trace it backwards. If you end up in the constellation Perseus, there's a good chance you've seen a Perseid. Under ideally dark skies, observers can often see dozens or even more than 100 Perseids per hour when the shower peaks. This year, the glaring light of a bright, waning gibbous moon will interfere, reducing the number of visible meteors. Now for the good news. That same moon is heading toward the sun, narrowing as it goes until the thinning crescent disappears into a black disk that will perfectly cover the sun on August 21st. A meteor shower, followed by a total solar eclipse.
Verse 25, and there shall be signs in the sun, and in the moon, and in the stars, and upon the earth distress of nations with perplexity, the sea and the waves roaring. There will be signs in the sun, moon, stars. Joel confirmed that. Sun will become darkened, moon will turn to blood, okay? Now, look at verse 26. These signs are not just going to be some like, I wonder what that is. Hang on. Men are going to understand what they mean, and they're going to be so afraid. Maybe it's an incoming asteroid. Maybe it's just something out there that's so beyond their control, and it's all done naturally because it's done by God. And God told us, Jesus is saying these things are going to be happening in the last days. All right, go with me. Luke 21:26, men's hearts failing them for fear and for looking after those things which are coming on the earth. For the powers of heaven shall be shaken. What? And so, in other words, Jesus is saying the heavens, he's going to shake the heavens. Well, what could shake the heavens? What in the world could do that? And you say, well, God did it. Right, and God always uses natural events. Parts the Red Sea, strong east wind came and blew all night, tells you in the Bible. Great earthquakes, all kinds of different things that have happened, scientifically can be proven. But here's the thing about it. When these signs are happening, the events on the earth are going in concert with it. In other words, whatever's going on in the spiritual world manifests in the physical. I've done a show here before called The 7 Prophetic Earthquakes. Blow your mind. Some of the biggest prophetic events of the Bible were at the same time were matched with earthquakes. So, you know, including the crucifixion of Christ and the resurrection of Christ, including the law being delivered to Moses on Mount Sinai and the mountain shaking. I mean, we can go on forever, and there's even more than 7. So what I'm saying is, Jesus is saying, when the whole world's a mess in Luke 21 or Matthew 24, also the heavens are going to be shaking, and people are going to see it and fall dead out of fear. Now, you don't have to have any fear if you've got Jesus, because look what Jesus tells you in the next verse. Look at verse 27. And then shall they see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory. The heavens are shaken. The earth is quaking. The devil's back is breaking, and the Lord is coming, okay? I mean, are you serious? I mean, I get excited every time I read these scriptures. And then look what it says in verse 28. And when these things begin to come to pass, then look up. Don't go run and hide in a bunker somewhere. Look up. Lift up your heads, for your redemption draweth nigh. If you're not saved, people will be falling dead of heart attacks because it's out of their control and they don't know what's going to happen. If you are saved, look up. You're going to see Jesus Christ coming, all right? He's coming in the clouds with power and great glory. Now, let's go to Revelation because, again, Jesus' words of prophecy in Matthew 24, Luke 21, Mark 13, they're all reiterated in Revelation. And oh, by the way, don't forget, Old Testament prophets like Joel and Zechariah and Daniel will confirm the words of Christ and the revelation given to John in the book of Revelation. All right, if you go to Revelation chapter 8, verse 8 through 11, let's read what the scripture says. Certainly there's going to be some deep impacts on the earth. There's no getting out of that. Matter of fact, we just had an asteroid hit just off the coast of Australia here recently. And when it hit, it shook, it lit the sky up. Hundreds of people called into their police stations. It shook the ground. They thought it was an earthquake, except people saw the sky light up, and then it knocked even power out. Several villages and towns lost power. It was an asteroid, a very small, and it was not, we didn't get a warning from NASA. You know, NASA, you can go there, they got what's called near-Earth objects, and they'll give you a list of all the asteroids. They got names, how big they are, when they're going to go whizzing by the Earth, how close. But the one that exploded over Russia was not listed by NASA. The one that hit just off the coast of Australia was not listed by NASA. And NASA says, we just didn't see it. Okay. Either they didn't see it, or if the ones that are going to hit us, they're just not going to tell us. Because let me just say something. If you're NASA, and you know right now that in 6 months and 14 days, we're going to get hit with a rock the size of a football field, are you going to tell us that and give us a 6 months head start? Do you know what kind of panic would hit this earth? It would be insanity. You just can't tell people, all right? But then you wonder, why are the elitists building underground cities in every major nation of the world that can hold as many as 10,000 people with hospitals and food storage and water and ventilation systems in case of the coming apocalypse? Just saying, just saying. Okay, look, let's see what Jesus said in Revelation 8, verse 8. And the second angel sounded, and as it were a great mountain burning with fire was cast into the sea, and a third part of the sea became blood. And the third part of the creatures which were in the sea and had life died. And a third part of the ships were destroyed. And the third angel sounded, and there fell a great star from heaven, burning as it were a lamp. And it fell upon the third part of the rivers and upon the fountains of waters. And the name of the star is called Wormwood. Same thing that it says in Amos 5. And the third part of the waters became wormwood. And many men died of the waters because they were made bitter or poisonous. So wormwood in Revelation is also mentioned by the prophet Amos in the 5th chapter, and he puts it with the constellation of Orion. And the planet, gigantic, whatever it is, burning sun planet, it's got 7 stars or 7 planets running around it, is in the constellation of Orion. Is it a binary system? Will it go by the Earth? And as it goes by, will its asteroids crash into these asteroids? Are you serious? I don't know. I just know we're going to have 2 deep impacts. I just know Jesus said men are going to die of heart attacks from what they see coming. I just know that the water's going to turn blood red, and the sun's going to turn dark, and the world is going to mourn.